She looked at me, she's like, go ahead and show me your show sweatshirt. I dare
I'm going to call this meeting to order and ask the city clerk to please call the roll.
Nice.
Are we ready, Persephone? Yeah. Okay. Councilmember Little. Councilmember Sander. Councilmember Budge.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Gatewood.
Here.
Mayor Pulapati.
Here. I'd like to ask the city clerk to announce the meeting's video recording and playback schedule.
The meeting of the Rancho Cordova City Council is recorded with closed captioning. The recording will be cablecast on Metro Cable Channel 14, the local government affairs channel on the Comcast and AT&T Uverse cable systems. The recording will also be video streamed at metro14live.saccounty.gov. Today's meeting will replay on Thursday, January 9th at 9 a.m. and Monday, January 13th at 1 p.m. on Metro Cable Channel 14. Once posted, the recording of this meeting can also be viewed on demand at youtube.com/MetroCable14. A DVD copy is also available from the City Clerk's Department, and a webcast of this meeting will be available on the city's website within 48 hours of adjournment of this meeting.
I'd like to request Chief Tamayo to lead the pledge, and then I invite the folks in the audience to remain standing for invocation, which will be a minute of silence.
Ready to begin the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Heavenly Father, thank you for this time together. Thank you for the many blessings that you give to us. Please give us guidance and strength. Please help us through this new year. Please give us grace. In your name we pray.
Amen.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I would like to now call Darcy Goulart for new employee introduction.
Good evening, Mayor Pulapati, members of the council. Darcy Goulart with Community Development. It's my pleasure tonight to introduce John Sapno. He is our Community Development Administrative Assistant. He joined us in October of last year, and he's been a huge benefit to the department and helping out everyone with calendars and scheduling, as well as keeping us on task. So with that, I'm going to let him introduce himself.
Hi, my name is John Sapno. It's been an honor to be part of the team. And my history, I've had several years of experience as an admin. I came originally from San Francisco and bought a home here with my wife about 4 years ago. Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Did you tell him about the singing requirement for the first meeting? No? He's making a quick exit. I don't know.
Darcy is making that quick
Welcome
exit for
aboard.
him. I'd like to ask Kim for her new employee introduction.
Good evening, Kim Duran, Administrative Services Department, and I'm happy this evening to be introducing Sabrina Howe, who joined us back in November as an administrative assistant in the Administrative Services Department. So she is supporting both finance and HR. And she came to us from Intel, and I'd like also to kind of prop her. She has a tasty little side gig that I'll let her share with you.
Good evening, Sabrina Howe. Happy to be here. I am a Rancho Cordova resident. My husband and I moved out here in February of 2020. I have a son at Cordova High School and a son at Navigator High School. So I'm deeply rooted in this community. I have a small business as well called How Delish Bakery. So I run a micro bakery out of my home. And I specialize in sourdough breads. And I came from Intel. I spent 6 years there and am happy to now be working in the city that I live in.
Nice. Which division at Intel?
Sales and marketing.
Oh, nice.
We will require sourdough at every meeting now with the butter. So if you wouldn't mind making that happen, Kim, put that into her contract.
It doesn't need butter.
It doesn't need butter? Listen, Don't tell me
We've
that.
not tried it. How do we know?
I know, we have to have butter. Thank you.
So what grade at Navigator?
Second grade. And
Okay.
then I have a freshman at Cordova.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was with SMG at Intel too.
Okay. Yeah.
Welcome.
Thank you. I started there as an admin partner and then moved into an analyst role and then made the decision that being an analyst wasn't for me. So hence why I'm back in an admin role.
Hey, that's the hardest role.
Yeah. So
Well,
thank you.
welcome. We now move on to public comment. Members of the public wishing to address the council for any matter not on the agenda may do so at this time by completing and submitting a speaker card to the city clerk. For items on the agenda, speakers will be called by the mayor at the point on the agenda when the item will be heard. Speakers are encouraged to keep comments to 3 minutes or less and to state name and community of residence. Under the provisions of the California Government Code, the City Council is prohibited from discussing or taking immediate action on any item not on the agenda unless it can be demonstrated to be of an emergency nature or the need to take immediate action arose after the posting of the agenda. Like to ask the City Clerk to announce if there's any public comment?
Yes, we have 4 speaker cards. We'll start with Daryl Langwell. Following Daryl will be Daniel Alvarez, then Helen Whalen Bashaw, and James Garcia.
Good evening, Mayor Polapati and council members. Daryl Langwell, Vineyards Neighborhood. If my memory is correct, and please correct me if I'm wrong, when Republic and Atlas were here making their presentations about trash disposal in the city, I thought Atlas said that they already had all of their electric vehicles ready to go on day one. Well, my trash was picked up on January the 2nd, the first day of their official actually picking up. And the vehicle that I saw had an exhaust stack. Now, I'm not the brightest bulb on the tree, but I don't think all electric vehicles really need an exhaust stack. So if I was correct in hearing them, I'd like to know. You folks have a good evening, and I hope this new year is great for everyone.
Next speaker is Daniel Alvarez. You'll have up to 3 minutes.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and City Council members. My name is Daniel Alvarez. I'm a carpenter at Local 46. I'm just here to talk about how apprenticeship helped me, and it has changed my life, basically. So thanks to that apprenticeship training that I had, it has given me the skills and the knowledge to do the job on the best of my abilities. And the reason, because of that, now I'm able to buy a house. So now I'm a homeowner, and I can provide to my family. Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you. We love that feedback.
Next
And congratulations.
Hi, I'm Helen Whalen Bashaw from Happy New Year's from the Tiffany area. I'd like to bring up an area that I've been noticing popping up ever since districting took place. Each member of this board has sworn to uphold state, federal, and local laws, meaning that you shouldn't be, in your official business, sitting here or representing the city, you shouldn't be out talking about how you don't like things. In 2002, when the community was designed to become a city in 2003, the state mandated districting. There's 2 members of this board, Linda and David, that were on the original board. You didn't district at that time. You violated your sworn obligations to have districting within the city. Recently, in the last few years, we've gone to district. And during the districting, there were arguments. The community put out several requests for different types of districting, and it looked like there was behind the scenes districting amongst the council people. A few meetings ago, Linda, you mentioned that you didn't believe in districting. And I said, put it on the back burner. Then the last meeting, our sworn mayor, Siri, you announced that you didn't believe in districting. Right there, two of you have publicly acknowledged as representatives for the city that rules don't apply to this city. In prior times when we went to voting on the garbage collection of it, I would say 98% of the people that came here were for Republic. You then went to who you thought was best, as far as I'm concerned, going against the public opinion. The first presentation, Atlas came in as though they owned the job. They came in later at another one and said, we'll have all vehicles. They were making comments about what they would do after what they put in. So my question is, are you actually following the state, federal, and other mandates that so govern how we govern this city? Thank you.
Next speaker is James Garcia.
Hi, James Garcia, resident of Stone Creek. My comment is, unfortunately, I wasn't unable to make your fun special meeting earlier, but it kind of still applies anyways, is I'm curious as to what happens with all these different appointments to the different boards. Do you get paid? Are there other means that you get paid beyond your normal city stipend? Do those boards actually produce an income for any of you? Because there's a lot of people out there that they feel that this job is, you're not paid enough as a council member by any means. It's really low. You put a lot of hours in, so I get it. But you're also putting in extra time on those extra boards. Are you getting compensated? I hope so. I hope there's other people out there that want to get that job too and be able to do that. But then at the same time, there's the vector control. I know we have somebody who was a former council member, former mayor, everything else who's still being appointed to that position. Is he getting paid? Because the public, we'd like to kind of know. So those are just some of the things. Want to know what other compensations are there for council members and others that get appointed to these boards. Thank you.
We also had one additional written public comment that was submitted via email by Jim Garcia. That's been distributed to the council. It's been placed in a binder in the back of the council chambers and up on our website as well. That's all the public comment that we have.
The city manager, do you have a comment?
No, I think if, I know there were some Atlas conversations or some, and so I would probably ask Albert to come up and give a little update on the question that was asked and any other things, updates he wants to provide based on community conversations that have happened.
I think there have been, good evening, Albert Stricker with the Public Works Department. And I know there have been a few questions about the Atlas rollout. And I think one of those that Daryl was just asking was with regard to the electric vehicles. And it is not on day one that they will have all electric vehicles. We do have Atlas's representative is here that could certainly give us a detailed response to what their expectations are for electric vehicles. And were there other questions, Micah, that you wanted me to address?
I think just generally some of the things that we've heard from the different public conversations that want to make sure that we get the right information out there that has taken place. Sure,
Absolutely. I think there have been a few different conversations. One of those was what happens if my can is broken or ages out. And Mark Hill can correct me if I'm wrong, but if for cans that age out or are broken by the vendor, those are replaced at no cost to the resident. There have also been a few questions about missed cans and also some debris that might be left behind by the vendor when they're coming in to pick up the cans. Although this happens from time to time with any vendor, it's absolutely not our expectation. We expect for all of the neighborhoods in Rancho Cordova to be beautiful and clean with no debris left behind and the cans properly emptied on time with the best service. And so we are communicating with Atlas to make sure that they're in alignment with that expectation.
Can I ask a random question? Because I had this brought up to me a couple times by citizens. If they leave the Christmas tree out, will Atlas pick that up?
I think the answer is yes, because I saw a post saying that
Just double checking, because I know a couple people.
if you've in fact extended the timeline to pick up live Christmas trees.
Hello, Mark Hill with Public Works, responsible for solid waste. Yes, they will pick up the Christmas trees. It's for a period, and Atlas just did extend it through the end of January. I believe I saw a post as.
So they don't have to try to stick it in the box. They just put it to the side, right?
Right, and it's picked up on their
'Cause
on their normal day.
Okay.
They can cut it up and put it in the bin, and in some cases that may make more sense depending on the size of it.
Got it. Okay.
You could ask me.
They were the track.
Well, he saw the post too.
There was a comment about this vendor being given 2 raises before they even started, and so our costs are up compared to whether or not we had stayed with the previous vendor. And I just want to verify with a statement from staff again that that's not actually an accurate characterization.
As we had discussed at previous meetings and as a part of the proposal process, the 2 prices were actually very, very similar in the proposal.
So had we stayed with the existing contract, had we transferred to this one, same charge, in essence?
That's correct. There would have been had we stayed with the original vendor, there certainly would have been a negotiation for a new contract that would have resulted in an increase as well.
But they bid in our process, so it was,
Yes.
in essence, apples and apples.
Yep.
Although you've got different rates for different neighborhoods and sizes that varied slightly, but basically it was the same rate.
Correct. It varied slightly amongst the different can sizes, but at the end of the day, the out-the-door price was very, very similar.
And the increase that occurred would have occurred regardless of which one we chose.
That's correct.
Albert, I think part of the question also was the fact that we all got an increase back in the summer, which was a planned increase under the old contract. So then when the new year rolled around and the rate increased, it seemed like 2 increases back to back, when in reality, it was planned all along.
That's correct.
Yeah, so that increase would have been irrespective of the vendor. And I know my choice, Atlas, I'll hold you to, is the unlimited education fund. Remember that?
Unlimited.
Unlimited. Okay. Moving on to council reports. Sorry.
I just had a question for, I've been getting blown up on social media and now my email even during this meeting of people who just didn't get any trash picked up this week, that kind of thing. And I'm wondering, and multiple outreach efforts to the trash servicer, I'm wondering if there's a way to get Atlas to make good with the people who haven't had trash for a week, maybe a credit on their next thing, maybe extra large waste pickup, just something to show value for the fact that a lot of people didn't have trash service this week, or at least reliable trash service. Just a thought.
I will have to check on that, but I don't think anybody missed a service. They had to maybe come back the next day to pick up some of those, but.
I've had people who are in the recurring doom cycle of calling Atlas and, yeah, we'll come tomorrow. They never came tomorrow. Call again. We'll come the next day and the next day. So that's just the only reason I'm raising it.
And I think feel free to send those to the team and they can check on those things with Atlas as well.
It would definitely be unacceptable to us if trash services is not being provided. And one of the things that we're very interested in is to have good communication. If there, inevitably, I'm sure there will be challenges from time to time. Our expectation is that there's good communication between the vendor and the citizens of Rancho Cordova. And so we will, as Micah suggested, we will work closely with Atlas to make sure that all of those are occurring, and if there are any outstanding services to be done, that it's addressed immediately.
On a positive note, today was our day, and we got our trash picked up, and it was on time, and everything was fine.
So Joe, just have them send their name and their location over to Albert, and Albert will check back with them, and then you can follow up with them, because he's really good about getting that, at least getting because we want to make sure the citizens have a really, really good experience. And so the ones that got the oops, let's make sure we take care of them, because we know this is the first time, and let's make sure the next time's better. It's all about improvement. It really, I'm that old style, fix the problem, not the blame. Wherever it is, let's fix it and let's get them right. And if it's a credit, great. Let them get the $30 off their trash the next time. And then let's make sure we go pick up an extra bin for them. Make it right.
I love it.
All right.
So just to close out, we'll appreciate the council's patience. As I think you always hope these have soft launch opportunities. If you opened a restaurant, you'd get a soft launch to kind of work out some of these different details. But I think ultimately there are obviously some bumps when you roll out a new program, and I think we're looking for a good response. And so far, Atlas has been reactive, and we appreciate the patience
Just
from the community.
understand, we at council don't expect perfection.
We expect perfection, but people love to talk trash.
Dang it, Siri.
Yes.
Come on up here, Atlas.
Brian Waters with Atlas Disposal. Thank you so much, Mayor and Vice Mayor. I appreciate the comments. We've had a great time starting this contract off, and I want to share some of the challenges is when you do it in the middle of a holiday. It can be extremely challenging. I've put 15 routes on this contract to make sure that we're providing great service for every customer. What I can share with you is all the emails that I'm receiving. I have customer service reaching out to each and every one of the addresses and the residents. And what I'm finding is 90% of those residents are on the following week when it comes to recycling. Because what's happening is everybody's so excited about getting their recycles out that they're bringing one out, right? And as soon as your neighbor brings it out, guess what? I forgot, I better put it out. And so we're finding that. And so we're trying to take care of that. In the midst of trying to take care of the residential pickup day, that's a day behind, that was last week. Today's our day 4. I can assure you, day 4, everything was picked up today on time. Yeah. Everything was dumped. My trucks are filled up and ready to go out tomorrow morning at 6 o'clock. So we're excited about where we're at. If I get a phone call and somebody feels that they didn't get the right pickup, we have supervisors going out and we're taking care of that account same day. Are we perfect? No. I have found that I can't please everybody, but we're going to give it everything we have to make sure that we're providing great service and that you guys get your value for choosing Atlas Disposal. So thank you for the opportunity. And I'm sorry about the calls.
And they're going to get a discount, right? If you missed it, right? Discount. Right?
I'm
discount. Nope, just say yes.
Vice Mayor Gatewood. Let's move on to
Thank you guys so much. Are there any other questions that I can answer?
So I have to say that when, like a year ago, when they went to the red and blue recycling theory, it was difficult to figure out whether you were a red or a blue. Mm-hmm. And in general, you had to go on the internet to figure that out. Mm-hmm. And but it turned out that our neighborhood, whether it was red or blue, it was a recycle day and everybody got picked up. So that's why I said everything got picked up on time.
Thank you. Yeah, we honored the service guide, so we just matched it up with the Republic, so we went on from there.
You're right, though. We don't know what day it is, and we look at the neighbors and.
Yeah.
If the neighbors are wrong, sorry.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
I think we're good. I think we can move on from the.
Council member had a top.
What are vehicles fueled with?
Clean energy, CNG. I have all new vehicles out there. I am running a few extra spares that they're brand new. They're with another rental company because I want to make sure I have enough vehicles to overdo this to make sure that we're providing the right quality of service. And so CNG, if I can address it, we were one of the first ones to buy the electric vehicles. They just haven't arrived yet, and we didn't commit to having electric vehicles in the next year or two. You know, we went above and beyond and got a stake bed truck for all the bin delivery and white goods, and so we're ahead of the game. Is it made yet? No, but we ordered it 2 years ago. So
they're on the way. They're just not available to anybody yet.
They're on their way. Not too many of them are out there. Okay. You guys have a blessed, happy New Year.
Thank you.
With that, we will move on to council reports. I will start with Council Member Budge.
Thank you, Siri. Actually, the reason I asked Sabrina what grade her son was in at Navigator was because the one thing I've done this year that was really cool was to go to Navigator and hand out dictionaries with Rotary to all the third grade kids. And so next year her son will get a dictionary with Rotary. And basically I just hope everybody had a peaceful and happy holiday season, however you celebrate Christmas and New Year's. And I think it's fitting that we close our council meeting tonight in memory of Jimmy Carter, our 39th president.
And a submarine sailor.
Yes.
Thank you. Council Member Sander.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I actually have very little to report other than touring around the city during the holiday was a pleasure. Lots of people had lights up, great activity at local vendors, local stores. It was a very, very cheerful holiday season. I'm very thankful for that.
Oh, yeah. Council Member Little. Vice Mayor Gatewood.
Had a meeting with Micah, had a meeting with the police chief. Happy Kwanzaa, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. Had a meeting with Jen Lorette. Everything is starting to move, and I'm really excited about this year.
And my report is welcome to 2025.
Woo! All right.
City Manager.
Sure. Well, I'll follow suit and not have too much to report and really just appreciate the council as the city hall was closed for Christmas week and supporting that closure and really giving the team the ability to rejuvenate and be excited about 2025. So looking forward to it.
We will now move on to consent calendar items. Consent calendar items consist of matters deemed routine and non-controversial by staff. Unless a member of the council wishes to pull an item for individual consideration, all items will be approved by one motion. Are there any items council wishes to pull from consent calendar? City Clerk, is there any public comment?
We do not have any public comment.
Hearing none, I will move approval of consent calendar items 13.1 through 13.4.
Second.
City Clerk?
For the roll call, Councilmember Sander.
Aye.
Councilmember Budge.
Yes.
Councilmember Little. Vice Mayor Gatewood.
Yes.
Mayor Pulapati.
Yes. I'll move on to consent public hearing items, and there are no consent public hearing items. I will move on to regular calendar items. Will the city clerk please announce the subject?
First, I just want to acknowledge that there's no consent public hearing items and there's no public hearing items. So 2 different things. And then I'm going to jump down to the regular calendar with the first item, which is the summary of 2024 California laws.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. This is our annual update to the City Council and staff about a small selection of the extremely large number of state laws that are adopted. Our attempt in this type of update is to just give the council a brief summary and heads up on some of the key laws that we are paying close attention to and that may affect the business before the council. We also work closely with department heads and staff to make sure that these types of laws end up on their to-do list, particularly if there's compliance deadlines and that sort of thing. This evening's presentation will be divided up between Anthony and Palmer taking point on about a half a dozen laws each, and we hope that this entire presentation will only take about 10 or 15 minutes.
Thank you, Adam. Anthony Amara with the City Attorney's Office. And the first subject I'll be covering is housing and specifically SB 1395. So under existing law, a city can declare a shelter crisis and doing so suspends certain actions such as leasing, conveying, or encumbering city-owned land from CEQA approval. What this law does is expands the CEQA exemption to include approval of contracts to provide services for people experiencing homelessness, and revises the definition of low barrier navigation center to include non-congregate and relocatable shelters, and extends the CEQA exemption indefinitely. Existing law also gives the city the option to suspend local building procedures, approval procedures, and safety standards if strictly following those requirements would prevent, delay the response of a declared shelter crisis. So with this new law, a city can now adopt an ordinance imposing reasonable standards and procedures for design, site development, and operation of homeless shelters within their jurisdiction. And the legislature's goal in this is to introduce flexibility into land use regulations and accommodate shelter development within cities. The bill also extends the sunset date for authorization to declare a shelter crisis for 10 extra years, all the way to 2036, and eliminates the expiration on the CEQA exemption.
I would just note briefly, the shelter crisis was really something that has kind of two sides to it. A number of agencies had considered using the shelter crisis tool, but were discouraged from doing so because of the strings that were attached, and also because it sort of labels a city as having a homeless crisis. So from an economic development perspective, from a governance perspective, while it has benefits, it also has arguably reputational impacts.
So moving on to the next subject is financial conflicts of interest for public officials, which brings us to AB 1170. So as everybody, I'm sure, knows, public officials have to file a Form 700 each year, also called a Statement of Economic Interest. And the new law alters how the statements of economic interests are filed and retained for public officials and the few or certain employees who are required to file these forms as well. So starting this year, January 1st, public officials now have to file these electronically. So in Rancho Cordova, this would apply to council members, planning commissioners, the city manager, city attorney, candidates, and other positions listed as Form 700 filers. The new law also permits filing officers, such as the city clerk, to retain paper reports that are filed regarding campaign and election records in electronic format or other space-saving format. And these also have to be available for public inspection. The next law would be SB 1243 regarding elected and appointed officials and the prohibition from accepting, soliciting, or directing contributions of $250 or more. As you know, any public official who receives $250 from a party or participant in a proceeding for a license, permit, or other entitlement has to recuse himself. The contribution also applies for 12 months following the date of the final decision in the proceeding. And violations of this law can be cured by returning the portion of the contribution that the public official receives within 14 days of accepting it. So what this new law does is it raises the dollar amount from $250 to $500. And it also clarifies the definition of a license, permit, or other entitlement, which now excludes competitively bid contracts and a variety of other contracts. And SB 1243 also clarifies what it means to have a license, permit, or entitlement pending. It now includes, but is not limited to, having the item placed on the agenda for discussion of decision at a public meeting. And finally, the bill extends a cure period for when a public official can return the excess money the money that they received from the party or participant to 30 days, up from 14. Next subject is Brown Act, AB 2302. So the Brown Act, as many of you know, generally allows teleconferencing of public meetings if an agency identifies all of the locations and posts the agenda and allows members of the public to participate in the teleconference locations. So since COVID-19, there's been new teleconferencing rules which allows public officials to participate remotely if a quorum of the members are present in person in the jurisdiction. And after COVID-19, the number that public officials can participate remotely was capped at 2 times per year. So what this new law does, AB 2302, it amends the restrictions on how often members can participate remotely, and it caps it at 2 meetings per year if the legislative body meets once per month, 5 meetings per year if they meet twice per month, and 7 meetings per year if they meet 3 times or more per month. So this means that for Rancho Cordova, council members can participate remotely up to 5 times per year. And then one more law that we did not include in the legislative update because it was the result of an attorney general opinion, but we thought it was worth mentioning, was the having to do with state of the city speeches. Previously, it was unknown if these speeches required Brown Act noticing and other Brown Act requirements to be complied with. But earlier this year, the Attorney General opined on this subject and decided that if a majority of the members of a city council attend a state of the city speech, then the event is subject to the Brown Act's requirements. And with that, I'll pass it over to Palmer.
And I would just one quick note on the teleconferencing. In general, that means that sort of the COVID teleconferencing rules are going to be just a little bit more limited. It'll place a bit more emphasis on trying to use the traditional video conferencing where you give us your address and information in advance rather than the slightly more permissive teleconferencing standards that were prevalent during COVID. So it just kind of tightens that up a bit more for purposes of your interaction and scheduling and communication with the city clerk's office in particular.
But just to be clear, declaring the location that you are teleconferencing from is still approved.
It is still approved and does not have a numerical limit, although it is a challenge administratively if it were something you did constantly.
Sorry, I misunderstand. So there is no limit when you give your location?
Your exact location and make that location available. So when for example, when Mr. Sander was traveling for the National League of Cities, quite frequently he would give his exact location. It would be printed on the agenda. So that's the traditional, and the majority of you would have been here in chambers. That's the traditional pre-COVID style of teleconferencing. That's still allowed and doesn't have a numerical limit. It's the other COVID style where you don't have to put all that information on the agenda. That's now been tightened
So
up.
you're saying we can go 5 times a year where we don't have to notice and you could just call in?
You can call in with those two, exactly, with those two.
Held then?
Exactly.
Okay.
All right, I will take over the last half of this presentation. The first law I have is SB 937. This pertains to impact fee deferrals for residential projects. So as a background on this, the Mitigation Fee Act addresses development impact fees that are levied by local governments to support public improvements associated with the impact of a residential development. For residential developments that are not subject to a development agreement, existing law prohibits local agencies from collecting fees on those residential developments for construction of public improvements or facilities until the date of final inspection or the date of certificate of occupancy is issued. And existing law carved out an exception to this timing requirement for utility service fees. SB 937 tightens up this exception and clarifies that utility service fees related to connections may be charged when the service is received, but cannot exceed the cost incurred by the utility provider resulting from the connection activities. Another exception that SB 937 creates is when a local agency can require fees to be paid sooner than the date of a final inspection or certificate of occupancy. The sooner payment of development impact fees when fees are to reimburse the local agency for expenditures previously made, or when an account is established and funds are appropriated for the public improvement and the public service relates to a variety of different services such as water, sewer, wastewater service, fire, public safety, or emergency service to road for development, roads, sidewalks, and other transportation. Another exception is that these sooner collection of fees do not apply to units that are reserved for occupancy by lower income households included in a residential development proposed by a housing developer in which at least 49% of the units are reserved for lower income households. The next law is AB 2553. This pertains to lower traffic impact fees and expanded CEQA exemptions for housing development close to major transit stops. So existing law provides a number of tools to encourage and facilitate infill development near transit. AB 2553 expands these in two ways. First, the distinction between a transit station and a transit priority area is clarified. This expands what the definition of close to essentially transit is under the law, making it easier for housing developers to qualify for this exemption. And then also AB 2553 expanded an exemption under CEQA for residential projects on infill sites and transit priority projects within half a mile of a major transit stop. The bill broadens the definition of major transit stop to mean the intersection of bus routes with a service interval of 20 minutes or less during the morning and afternoon peak commute hours, which is more permissive than the previous standard of 15 minutes or less. Next law we have is AB 3057. This one's pretty simple. It expands a CEQA exemption for junior accessory dwelling units in JADU ordinances. Previously, this exemption was allowed for ADUs. It broadens it to apply to JADUs, which are a subset of ADUs.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
I've never heard anybody talk about junior ADUs. What are they?
Yeah, junior accessory dwelling units are generally attached and smaller. You'll see them, they are now a common element of them. You'll see them in most zoning codes. Accessory dwelling units can go up to 1,200. I think JADUs are capped at 700 or 800 square feet. So it's just a smaller, more permissive version of accessory dwellings.
And you said it might be attached? So like Lennar's second gen or next gen housing, where the in-law apartment is attached to the main house?
With the exception that I think if you look at the details of most of our newly developed areas, many of those areas, and I think Lennar in particular, based upon our site visit to them as a leadership team, they are restricted by their CCNRs not to allow those as second dwelling units, even though they're built as with a, so they are still subject to accessory CCNR restrictions,
Okay.
even though they may look like
Things like that and
JADUs.
casitas and that sort of thing.
Right.
But generally, they're attached, and they have to
Yeah.
have a separate entrance,
Right.
private bathroom, a kitchen, things of that nature.
Okay.
The next law we have, another ADU law, AB 2533. This is an extension of building code amnesty for non-compliant ADUs and JADUs. So existing law created an amnesty for unpermitted ADUs. This provided that permits shouldn't be denied for an ADU that was constructed before 2018 in violation of building code standards. AB 2533 makes several changes to this. It extends the amnesty for unpermitted ADUs to those built before 2020, and it also clarifies that JADUs are covered by this amnesty. Also, impact fees or connection or capacity charges may not be charged when homeowners seek permits for ADUs and JADUs that were constructed before 2020. Next up, we have SB 969, which is pertaining to entertainment zones. This bill allows cities to create entertainment zones in which consumption of one or more types of alcohol are permitted on public streets, sidewalks, or public right-of-ways. Before creating the entertainment zone, a city is required to notify local law enforcement and request feedback about the aspects of the proposed zone, including the boundaries, days, and hours of operation. The city has to provide Department of Alcohol Beverages a copy of the ordinance, information that may be necessary to identify the boundaries of the entertainment zone, the days and hours, and the types of alcohol permitted. And then if a city establishes this, every 2 years, they have to review the zone and make any reports to the Department of Alcohol Beverage Control upon request. Next, switching to the planning aspect, we have AB 1889, the Room to Roam Act. This relates to the city's general plan update as it relates to the conservation element. So generally, a general plan's conservation element must consider the effect of development on natural resources located on public lands. AB 1889 adds a new requirement that must be required in the conservation element, which is the effect of development on the movement of wildlife and connectivity of wildlife habitats. In Rancho, Cordova, this is a topic that's already been consistently addressed in major development projects for quite some time. AB 1889 also mandates that cities avoid, minimize, or mitigate the impact of development on wildlife movement to the extent feasible, and analyze and consider ways to remediate existing inappropriate barriers to wildlife movement and restore degraded wildlife habitat. And the last one in our presentation, before I switch to one more law, is AB 2023, which is related to the housing element, deadlines for submittal. So the state's housing element requires cities to prepare a housing element within its general plan that identifies adequate sites to accommodate housing for all income levels. If a city's housing element fails to do so, existing law requires the rezoning of sites. That rezoning typically was a 3-year period. This law reduces that period to 1 year. And lastly, one law we wanted to flag that we've provided an update previously on, but it's important for the city is AB 98. This regulates new or expanded logistics uses. The statute creates a complicated set of regulations that apply depending on whether logistics uses meet certain standards. AB 98 applies different development standards to logistics use facilities based on various factors, including whether a facility exceeds 250,000 square feet, whether loading bays are less than 900 feet from a sensitive receptor, whether the site's existing zoning is industrial or non-industrial, and whether the site is located in a warehouse concentration region, and the entitlement application date. Generally, stricter standards apply to larger logistics uses abutting sensitive receptors in areas zoned for non-industrial uses. AB 98 also requires local governments to update the circulation element components of their general plans to ensure truck routes avoid residential areas to the extent feasible. Circulation elements must establish specific travel routes for truck traffic that can accommodate additional traffic and avoid residential areas and sensitive receptors, and maximize highway use as preferred routes, followed by major thoroughfares and predominantly commercial-oriented local streets to reach existing industrial zones. So this law goes into effect January 1st, 2026, but we wanted to put it on the council's radar. And with that, I'll turn it back over to Adam.
So following up and briefly summarizing a few large-scale themes and connecting the dots of these new laws to areas of particular interest for you all in the city. There continues to be this broad category of work in housing and affordable housing or higher density housing where the state is giving developers expedited or ministerial tools to build that housing faster. And in the course of that, they're taking away local control. They're giving you less discretion to deny projects. So sort of both sides of that housing coin, you're seeing that in quite a lot of legislation. Another theme you definitely heard was on ADUs and that sort of thing. ADUs, there's two sides to the coin. I think on one hand, it gives an easy way to increase housing density and housing opportunities in cities, but it also can be unmitigated kind of impacts. It's new residents who haven't contributed in some cases, the same amounts of impact fees or helped construct new infrastructure. So that's another major theme. And of course, I think the entertainment center, the entertainment zone that we highlighted for you could provide an interesting opportunity and perhaps a dynamic public policy question for the council to weigh as it continues to grow its thriving Beryl district. So I hope that helps. And if there's any that didn't make the list that you're interested in hearing about us, hearing us talk with you about individually or together, we're happy to do so. We do more technical work with staff on implementing a number of these.
Isn't there a card room tax issue going on right now with the new law in regards to the casino we have here? My understanding was there's a litigation created by legislation regarding the legality of operating those card rooms, and I'm just wondering if that's something that's on our radar. If it's something we pull a lot of taxes from that could be eliminated overnight by the lawsuit.
The Indian tribes have all sued the casinos, the casino card room, not casino technically, but card room industry.
Yeah, that's about the level of detail that I know about that. I'd be happy to follow up more.
All right, I'm just wondering if it affects us. That's all.
We can look at that. I will tell you the order of magnitude as far as that we get from the card route tax is not, I would call it substantial. So I think, generally we can provide that number as well. But, I think that's something that we can look at.
City Clerk, do we have any public comment for this?
We do not have any public comment for 16.1.
Council, any other comments, questions on this topic? Hearing none. Thank you. Palmer and Friend. Moving on to 16.2, I'll ask the City Clerk to announce the subject.
Fiscal year 2024-2025 Art in Public Places presentation.
I'll ask Ian Winbrook for the staff report.
Good evening, council members, mayor. My name is Ian Winbrock, and I'm a management analyst in the city manager's office. And I'm excited tonight to talk to you about public art. Specifically, staff is bringing forward to council the fiscal year 24-25 Art in Public Places bucket of the Community Enhancement and Investment Fund. Tonight, we're going to talk a little history before we go into staff's recommendations for current opportunities, touch briefly on future opportunities, and then circle back to staff recommendations for this fiscal year. The Art in Public Places bucket has existed since 2018. Two council members up on the slide right now, Councilmember Gatewood and Councilmember Budge, might remember the unveiling of this mural, but there's a number of murals and a number of public art installations that residents as well as council members may see around the city that have been funded by the Art in Public Places bucket. The council has invested about $200,000 since 2018 into public art through the Art in Public Places bucket, with the bucket itself being created in fiscal year 18-19, with our art strategic plan adopted in 1920. You can think of our art strategic plan like our North Star. It was created as a way to be able to consolidate the strategies, the work, and provide an overarching vision of where the city of Rancho Cordova was going to go to make us a premier destination for arts and culture, public art, and more. And since the adoption of the art strategic plan, the council has invested about $140,000 in public art through the bucket itself. And these investments have looked pretty varied year to year. In the top left-hand corner, you can see another example of a mural that was created through the bucket. To the right of that is a mosaic. To the left corner, you can see a fair few number of utility box art wraps, which was brought to council not too long ago, and residents responded really positively to these box wraps across the city. These wraps last for about 3 to 4 years, so they're semi-temporary, whereas the murals and the mosaic are more permanent fixtures. But the council, through this bucket, has also passed temporary art installations. The examples of the visual and performing artists on the right-hand side of the slide showcase a partnership that was funded through the Art and Public Places bucket with Sacramento Valley Spark, a nonprofit organization that brought visual and performing artists from Burning Man to the city of Rancho Cordova along RT transit stops during the height of the pandemic to create COVID-safe art installations that really fostered community and co-created an environment where people could experience each other during a time where it wasn't safe to do so. So why does this matter? It matters because art makes ordinary places extraordinary. It co-creates community, it facilitates placemaking, and it also brings together our city as a destination. You know, I'm not saying anything new, but particularly when it comes to temporary art installations, it creates a sense of urgency. It makes places social media worthy, and it really enhances our existing infrastructure. When you start to pull up to 10,000 feet and look all over the city where the Art and Public Places bucket has created investments, the primary Art and Public Places art is utility boxes. About 75% of the funding through this bucket has funded utility boxes across the city. Art is relatively evenly distributed across the city, and most murals are located within 1 mile of each other in the northern part of the city where those purple dots are co-located. While we have a single mosaic installation, the temporary art installations have been co-located with public transit, like I said, those yellow dots. So staff is recommending to council that we further our existing investments, that we continue to use this bucket for placemaking to make sure that the city of Rancho Cordova is a place that enhances artists by enfranchising them, to work with the city to make us a premier place for public art and make our city continue to be a destination for artists and for art, to further integrate our transit and transportation infrastructure with public art and to overlay that for added benefits of both, and to make it social media worthy, to make it something that you want to bring your kids to, that you want to bring your family to bring members from different parts of Rancho Cordova to places they may have not been to before, or maybe they're seeing it with new eyes. And that's why we're recommending temporary asphalt art for this fiscal year. So what's temporary asphalt art? Where it's temporary art. It's art that's meant to be temporary in nature, so last for a few months or a few years, kind of like the utility box wraps. And it's on asphalt, so it's art on pavement. It's designed to exist on pavement. And just like our previous investments through the Art and Public Places bucket, it's going to make places that you've been to before seem slightly different and co-create a new way of engaging with those places. So just a couple of quick examples that we're proposing tonight. These are just illustrative to give you a sense of what we're proposing. Those 4 images, those 2 on the top and bottom on the left, and those 2 on the center are before and after pictures of jurisdictions outside of the Sacramento area that showcase turning intersections into canvases, places where intersection murals, asphalt art is at bulb outs, curb extensions, crosswalks, intersections themselves, and they've been transformed. And if you use delineators, bulb outs, you receive a benefit. People slow down, you reduce pedestrian and cyclist fatalities and serious injuries. But if you combine those with art, The Bloomberg Asphalt Art Initiative has a growing body of research that shows that together, traffic calming interventions and public art produce a pretty substantial reduction in pedestrian and cyclist fatalities and serious injuries. By combining them together, you have added benefits of both. On the right-hand side, in that top right-hand corner and the bottom right-hand corner, you can see other proposed temporary asphalt art that's only visible when it's wet and when it's dry. And we'll talk about those in just a moment. So our two proposed projects have a budget of about $30,000, all of which we're proposing for location in Lincoln Village. And I'll pass it on to my colleague Drew Hart to explain why and why now in just a moment. Project one is 3 different Lincoln Village asphalt art murals. So these would be 3 different intersections in Lincoln Village that would be opportunities to create asphalt art, these intersections, as a way to co-create community together, but also have those benefits of having increased safety. Project 2 is sidewalk poetry and placemaking words, again for Lincoln Village. The sidewalk poetry uses a material that when you spray onto a stencil, it dries and it becomes invisible, but when it rains, it becomes visible. This poetry would be 2 different poems, either from the same poet or from different poets that would be commissioned by the city to increase transportation equity and accessibility. This poetry would be about the sometimes invisible struggle that persons with disabilities have, that people who are non-ambulatory or less than ambulatory have, and the real importance of our sidewalks and our transportation infrastructure. You know, a lot of times it might be invisible to us what those folks are going through, but this poetry would be meant for everyone to have a deeper understanding of its place and also kind of create a sense of surprise. You don't know where art is going to be in Rancho Cordova. It could be right underneath your feet. Another of the proposed project for Project 2 is placemaking words. We brought these projects to the Cordova Community Council for consultation, and Shelley suggested these placemaking words, seeing them in different jurisdictions as a way to co-create community really quickly and also to have civic virtues laid out in front of you, in front of your feet. And now I will pass it to my colleague Drew Hart to explain why Lincoln Village and why now.
Thank you so much, Ian. Drew Hart, Senior Transportation Planner in the Public Works Department. Cities across the country have been, and the world, have been capitalizing on the space that is the public right-of-way and new and creative and exciting ideas as has been demonstrated through the images that you've seen here on these slides and previous slides. On average, a suburban city, about 30% of the total land space that is within the city boundaries is public right-of-way. A lot of that goes to streets, a lot of that is parking, a lot of that is sidewalks. Then you have retention basins for stormwater and landscaping and other things. Reclaiming that space and co-creating, as Ian said, with the community as a chance to celebrate the community is a really exciting thing. And so the opportunity to then mix that or combine that with traffic calming is a very exciting thing and has proven to have improved safety benefits. This is a tradition here in Rancho Cordova to add public art into public spaces. So this is not a new idea, but it is a familiar idea with a new application. And to the second point there on the screen, the City Public Works Department will be focusing on the traffic and transportation safety starting this year and over the next few years, thanks to a grant that we have received. The opportunity to bring in the community into the conversation, it'll dovetail really, really well as we continue to have conversations with the community and as we focus on our transportation safety throughout the city. But why Lincoln Village? Well, it's the right opportunity at the right time. This Public Works Department is currently developing traffic calming in Lincoln Village as a whole that we will be implementing in temporary quick build traffic calming projects this spring. Temporary, lasting 3 to 4 years or so until this neighborhood gets repaved, and then those traffic calming elements can become permanent. And so it's really the right opportunity to combine art in the crosswalks or in the curb extensions or perhaps in the middle of the intersection as part of our traffic calming that we'll be doing. The Public Works Department will be implementing things like what you're seeing on the screen right now across the bottom, but without all the fun colors. So that is happening regardless of the action tonight, as a way to respond to the requests in the community to do some traffic calming in Lincoln Village. This just gives us a really great opportunity to combine the two. So the traffic calming effort that we have going on is a community process. Asphalt art is a community process, and integrating both of these together enhances both of them. So we've identified 3 locations that we, as staff, propose as a place to start for these art installations within the traffic calming. These are proposals only. They're subject to change, but a good place to start and an opportunity for us to kind of pencil out numbers. With that, I will turn it back over to Ian.
Thank you, Drew. And just as these asphalt art intersection murals are great test and learn opportunities for the city to see if we can scale them up in neighborhoods or replicate them in different neighborhoods, we view the sidewalk poetry and placemaking words as much of the same. The sidewalk poetry, as I mentioned before, are designed to be able to increase transportation equity and the visibility of sidewalks as critical parts of our transportation infrastructure. And while similar poetry projects have happened across the United States and across the world, this would be the first time in the United States, or indeed the world, in which poetry has been used in this way to be able to increase transportation equity through the visibility of sidewalks themselves as critical parts of transportation infrastructure for persons who are differently abled. The placemaking words are, as Shelley has suggested to us at the CCC, an important way to be able to bring people together, to co-create community, to have people have shared ownership of their public spaces. When I have been a part of intersection murals up in Oregon, I have seen firsthand how communities have come together when they're putting paint on pavement. They own their sense of community and place. They see themselves in what they're painting, and much with the placemaking words too, it's a way to have civic virtues exist in front of you and to have a collective sense of ownership of what you're making together. Quickly, we're going to touch on future opportunities. Staff at a future date will bring a recommendation for an updated art strategic plan. We've tested and learned a lot over the last 5+ years, and we feel that we have a lot of data now and a lot of best practices across the country and across the world to be able to bring to council at a future date for an update to the art strategic plan that perhaps incorporates tactics as well as strategies that can guide us for the next 5, 10, or even 20 years. Future opportunities that staff is exploring through conversations and discussions and is not yet ready to bring forward to council for a recommendation are things like asphalt art integration into major corridors, a process to sponsor or request utility box art, a public art maintenance plan, and integration of public art into the implementation of the economic development strategic plan. We're going to end with staff recommendations. Staff recommends council provide direction to approve 3 temporary public art installations for the FY 2024-2025 Art in Public Places bucket. Those 3 being the Lincoln Village asphalt art murals, the second being the rain-activated sidewalk poetry promoting sidewalk accessibility, the third and final being chalk art words promoting placemaking. Staff is recommending a review committee for this art comprised of 1 member from each of the following groups. From the arts community, Cheryl Gleason, the MAC curator and RC Arts president. From city staff, a public works department representative. From the Cordova Community Council, Shelley Blanchard, their executive director. From It Takes a Lincoln Village, a representative chosen by ITLV. And then finally, a professional artist determined by Cheryl Gleason, the MAC curator and RC Arts president. Thank you so much for your time, and we would welcome questions from council.
I'll start with public comment.
There's no public comment for this item.
Okay. Council?
So the only change I would make in the review committee is I'd like to have someone from city council on that review committee. So I would like to have someone from the Lincoln Village area. If we have a council member from that area, I don't know, that would be a good representation for that community to sit on that board of 5 when they're making decisions and then come back and talk to us about it.
Are these sidewalk art installations planned for Lincoln Village, or is that citywide?
They're planned for Lincoln Village as well.
foresee a problem there because our sidewalks are pretty terrible in Lincoln Village, an older neighborhood, older trees that have taken root, uplifted the sidewalks, and obviously it's in the homeowner's responsibility to repair it. And so when I'm thinking about disability equity, I'm not a disabled person, but I know some, and I think they're more concerned with having a sidewalk that they can actually go on rather than a sidewalk that's pretty. Up until the Cascades recently redid their sidewalks, I'm sure at great cost to the owners, everyone in the apartment complex that was on a motorized scooter, they were in the street or in the bike lane because they couldn't even get on the sidewalk. So I do foresee a messaging problem with you're more concerned about painting our sidewalks than actually allowing us to use them. And I know we're talking about pennies here with the amount of we're spending on this, but I do foresee a messaging problem with the fact that many sidewalks in that neighborhood are not accessible by disabled people. So it's just kind of a little bit tone deaf. I love the asphalt art, don't love the sidewalks. Would love to see more art wraps because those have done a great job in Lincoln Village, the one that was installed. And we have a plethora of utility boxes, which are completely blighted, obviously neglected by the utilities. So I think that's a better way to get our money's worth is the art wraps rather than the sidewalk decorations. My comment.
Thank you for your feedback.
Just one thing to talk about too, there are many places where sidewalks are the responsibility of the homeowner. In Rancho Cordova, the city of Rancho Cordova takes on that responsibility of sidewalk repair. And that was a council decision from a long time ago that kind of take that approach, which sometimes comes at cost to us in the city to do those improvements. But that is something that the city of Rancho Cordova bears from a cost standpoint.
I think the repair backlog is a couple million to several $1 million, probably, citywide. I know we allocate an amount every year to try to chip away at that.
Yeah, I think the team is looking at each other. We can get that number for you as far as what that backlog is. Or Albert can come and address it too.
And I just might want us to be clear, Mr. Little, was that a comment or was that a possible suggestion for a motion to eliminate number 2 from the list?
Just a comment.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good evening, Albert Stricker with Public Works, and the sidewalk backlog is still at several $1 million, although we have made great progress on addressing that backlog.
Councilmember Budge? No. So I would like to commend staff on this presentation and also for 2 points that I've noted. Last year, I mentioned Insta-worthy, and I now see it on your slide. And I did talk about visible when wet, on sidewalks. So I see that, so I really commend you for actually listening to what we're speaking and, on council and noting the minute details that we go through. That said, I think we need youth in your review committee for art. And, that's one. And part 2 is, all the poems that you have, poetry on there, that's above me. And maybe you need more simpler language
One
in
fish,
your
two
poetry.
fish, red fish.
Yeah,
blue
Dr.
fish.
Seuss. Yeah, But so youth and simpler poetry is my 2 suggestions.
Yeah, and take into account what Joe's saying. I mean, we don't want to anger people by some
Fair point, but
beautification.
Councilmember Gatewood, this is CEIF funds, which is CEIF in this context.
Right. I understand.
Yeah.
Actually, I don't understand.
Go ahead.
So I just kind of wanted to place this in context. I think, standalone, these are small projects. They can be really impactful, particularly if we leverage assets that we already have, so, and I'm pretty sure this is already in the plan. I just want to make it clear that there's ability for synergy here. So when someone goes to the MAC for an exhibit, they're going to have a little postcard or something that says, hey, you really should go see this asphalt art. right? It's just down the street. Go over there and see it, which takes someone from wherever they're coming, from the Sacramento region or internal to Rancho Cordova, into that neighborhood and says, wow, that is cool. Look at that. I haven't seen anything like that before. This Rancho Cordova place must be all right, right? So it's just image boost. It's a quality of life enhancement for people who live there. And all of this sort of activity is always economic opportunity and economically stimulating. So that's why, in the big picture, we have this art strategy. We've got a lot of other opportunity in front of us for doing cool stuff. Certainly the Highway 50 crossing at Zinfandel, the thought of that, instead of that being a bicycle connection, the way a transportation engineer would design it, no offense, Albert, it becomes a linear art gallery, right? Then if you do it right, and if you do it aggressively enough, people will come probably from great distances to see it, because where else can you see a bridge over, a major thoroughfare that can turn itself into something that looks like a zebra? For example, if you were broadcasting or shining, a certain pattern on the blank parts of the concrete. There's a lot of interesting, there's lights with LED. We talked about that at a previous meeting. But there's a lot of opportunity there. And nearby, there's an opportunity to do something like Wynwood Walls, if we found the right opportunity for a partner. Wynwood Walls is a place in Miami that sort of, imagine it like behind strip centers. It's W-Y-N Wood, Wynwood. Like the back walls of a strip center that create an alley. They turned the alley into a gallery for large art, and some of it temporary, that's painted on the back of the building, so it's got a door in it, it's got a fire hydrant in it, whatever. But people are doing giant murals, and it's literally an outdoor art gallery, so people will go there for events, art events. In this case, we could do that, somewhere nearby our new crossing over Highway 50. A lot of little alley-like back of store, back of strip center places to do that there. So there's a lot and the MAC, of course, and our new investment in art and theater. We're becoming a destination for this if we play our cards right. So I just want to encourage us to keep thinking about this really aggressively and making sure that we're getting these benefits for our residents that are quality of life, economic development, image enhancement.
Yeah. So I will comment that I completely agree with David. But the cool thing about our art in public places is the fact that it's probably what people generally call organic. This was something that came from the artists themselves. It was not a government mandate like arts in public places was implemented at the city of Sacramento or the county of Sacramento, which is why you have art at the light rail stations and things like the Big Red Rabbit out at the airport. Yeah. Somebody in the government said, we have to do this. But our artists came to us and said, we want to do this. And the first installation in Lincoln Village, of course, was at the school on the concrete bulb outs where the kids stand to walk or protect them from traffic, that kind of thing. So I really, mobility is important to me, and I'm very conscious of it every day. And I actually tend to agree with Joe that I'm not sure we should be using the sidewalks until we repair the sidewalks. That would be my only concern. It just strikes me as sort of an irony that we would paint them as opposed to just fix them. And I completely understand the challenge that Public Works has, and we've done an enormous job of using our CEIF dollars to chip away at all the sidewalks that need replacing, and that's a great thing. I love the asphalt art. Albert and I have talked about asphalt art in the past because I was sent some by a friend in Jackson, Mississippi, who went through this kind of thing, and how much it really brought the community together, and everybody had a good time. I mean, when one of the muralists brought the 3 panels up and put them in the lobby here, and we all went over and painted a chunk of it. I mean, that was so cool, you know? So I can just envision people out there painting Lincoln Village Drive. That strikes me as a really incredible thing to do for placemaking and for community building. And it just seems to me that it takes a Lincoln Village would be all over that kind of opportunity, you know, to bring people together to do something really unique and creative like that.
Plus, we have an art studio in District 3. I didn't even know that. And
Yes, you do.
yeah,
Anew.
I was in
Yeah.
there recently. Yeah.
Cool. And I'm sure she would be happy to participate in this. Actually, the two things you've got in the to-do list that I would appreciate if you would move up. Number one, I've been telling Micah, we really do need some sort of a public art protection plan, public art maintenance plan, something like that. I've been watching the ongoing construction of all the fiber at White Rock and Prospect Park, and any day I expect to see that very large sculpture fall over into a hole in the ground. And, you know, not only did Palmer West come in and put up a sign in front of it to begin with, but now they've been digging in the ground around it. And it's those kinds of things that we need to make sure we're taking care of. And secondly, I'm like Joe. I've got utility boxes I want to nominate. And if we can open up the nominations, at least we could get a list going. That would be a great thing. But otherwise, personally, I would skip number 2 and just go with, just expand number 1 and number 3. And, you know, Siri, frankly, the poetry I read on the screen didn't mean anything to me either. And I'm also not a Dr. Seuss fan. But I mean, even if you put welcome in as many different languages as you can think of, something like that just strikes me as a really great thing to do.
Okay.
So if we're through, I would move that we approve the city staff recommendation with the elimination of project number 2.
Or relocation?
Sure.
Yeah, let's move it to
If you
one of the
can-
areas that has, like,
Yeah.
right next to Siri's house. Because
No,
she
go
wants
paint the-
water operated. You know
No,
you want it.
Just did the Chase Drive
Yeah, I was going
enhancement project.
it'd
I'd
be
get a
really-
lot of foot traffic.
It'd be really cool to have this reinactivated sidewalk in front of schools. You know?
Oh, yeah, that would be
That's
cool.
a good idea.
Yeah.
So in Lincoln, like, yeah, so let's move
So
that
do
in
it
front
in
of
front of
schools.
AM Win.
Yeah, like AM1, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be cool.
And just a quick comment, if you give direction for more specific locations, we need to do a quick conflicts check that you're not directing it near Siri's house or one of your houses.
This is not near Siri's house.
It's hilarious.
I'll sit out the
So-
vote.
You know,
We could just take direction to put it near school and we could figure
near
out. where
school,
that-
and I'd also like to add, then you can involve the school on what poetry or not poetry, you know, art, whatever, they would like in front of their school. So it'd be like a bingo card for rainy day.
Please don't make the engineer choose the poetry. Please. She's already she's on edge at this
Okay.
point.
Relocate the sidewalk poetry to some location that is more appropriate.
Yeah.
Yeah, and add the youth to the committee.
And then did I hear from council that there's a recommendation to have a council member on the review committee as well? And I wanted to, again, articulate, Councilmember Little, I appreciate your comments, and I will work with our Director of Communications and Public Affairs to make sure that our messaging is both receptive and proactive.
Does Joe want to be on the committee?
This has already been such a big time commitment already, but hell yeah, let's throw one more thing on it.
All right.
So youth and Mr. Little.
Committee member number 6. And that's a motion.
Second all that she said.
Okay.
Can we clarify real quick, just want to make sure we get it right?
Sure.
So
Item 2 gets relocated to some appropriate location.
appropriate school, and then we add 2 people to the review committee, a council member and a youth member,
Oh,
which was asked for
the
by
one
mayor.
in front of this school.
why don't we let It Takes a Lincoln Village choose the person that they would like to represent them?
Yeah,
Sounds good.
that's fair.
Yeah.
So do you give them, I'm just want to make sure we get it right, we give them 2, 1 adult and 1 youth representation for the committee?
Actually, Mr. Little, you could also take that. You could have somebody from ITLV take your spot.
Yeah, I'm happy to do that. In fact, I really want to uplift them as a neighborhood organization. So, and like I said, I'm busy, so I'm happy
Yeah.
to not do it as long as it looks pretty. In
We
the end.
understand.
I'm fine with it.
You're preaching to the choir on that one.
Okay, I think we have a motion and a second, sort of.
Okay. So, which is what?
Motion in a second, sort of.
Can I ask to clarify the motion? Is it, Councilmember Budge mentioned an appropriate location, and I heard someone else say a school.
He meant an appropriate educational location, right?
The committee will decide what the appropriate location is. Was that the intent?
The
Staff?
request.
That's your direction, we're happy to take that direction as the appropriate.
Kind of wanted to go to
place.
an educational one.
Okay.
Yeah, the city manager had said near a school.
Yeah, somewhere near youth activities, we could say, or something.
Okay.
That has a sidewalk that's, looks good.
A decent sidewalk.
I do think it's hilarious that we'd paint a sidewalk that's breaking down.
We have lots that are good. So.
So when she gets the clarification she needs, if we could just go ahead and vote on the direction, since it does involve money and other activities.
Right.
I also want to confirm, because Councilmember Little was on the committee, now I think he's off the committee. And so we have a youth addition to the committee selected.
So
as
my
well.
understanding is it could be Councilmember Little or who he appoints from ITLV. So that's one, and it's a youth.
We already have somebody from ITLV on the committee,
Oh, you already do have that.
So he should stay on.
Your choice, sir.
Sometimes staff recommendations are really good.
Yeah. My only thing is
we're
you,
happy
'cause-
with running with what's in front of you and as well.
Except we don't want the rain-activated poetry portion to be not in front of a school. That's it.
We want it in front of us.
We want it in front of school, not on a sidewalk that's breaking down inside
Yeah,
Lincoln Village.
yes.
Because we find that would be silly.
And lawyers cannot choose the diction to be used in that poetry.
Or engineers.
Okay.
So she was doing you want to regurgitate that again? Do it.
No, but we got it.
Okay.
If I say it again, it'll get confused again.
And I said
so
second.
we
Did
got
you
it.
get that, Stacy? You want to regurgitate it? Make sure you understand it?
I think I heard that we are relocating item number 2, the sidewalk poetry, to an appropriate location
Near a school.
Near school.
near a school.
Or other youth activity location.
I also heard a youth member would be added to the committee, and that Councilmember Joe Little will be on the committee as well, or no? Okay. No.
Happy to be on it. I just don't want to have too many cooks in the kitchen. I'm already being a stick in the mud. But if you want to put me on, I'm happy to be on.
I think you should be on just so you can meet your community. Do it because they want to meet the new city councilman from that area. I like to show off. So let's keep Joe on there.
Okay, that was Linda's motion, or Councilmember Budge's motion, and Vice Mayor Garrett Gatewood seconded that motion.
Correct.
Councilmember Little.
Can I vote on it? Yeah. I don't know if I can since I'm being appointed to it or whatever. I'm being given a position.
There's no money, only responsibility and
Yes,
time
there's no money
being
involved.
taken away from you.
Can't turn that down.
So
Be
there's
funnier
no
if you
financial
voted no.
Sorry.
Councilmember Sander?
Aye.
Councilmember Budge?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Gatewood?
Absolutely.
Mayor Polapati?
Yes. We will move on to item number 16.3, and I'll ask the city clerk to announce the subject.
A resolution for the 180-day wait period exception for hiring William Steve Harriman as a temporary extra help employee under Government Code Section 7522.56 and 21224.
How does William become Steve? Okay, I will call on Brenda Roach for the staff report.
There we go. Hello, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and Council. Brenda Roach, Human Resources. So the item before you this evening is a resolution to waive the 180-day wait period and allow the hiring of William, but we like to call him Steve Harriman, a retired annuitant, as a temporary extra help employee. Under the Public Employees Pension Reform Act, retired annuitants must wait 180 days before they're able to work for the same public agency. However, the waiting period can be waived through a resolution adopted by the governing body. The city requires Steve's specialized expertise in solid waste, as the city recently transitioned to a new residential solid waste collection and street sweeping vendor effective January 1st. Steve will be appointed as a program manager, while he will assist implementing a new residential solid waste and street sweeping contract with Atlas Disposal and help train new staff to manage the contract. Staff recommends the adoption of the resolution and approve the 180-day wait period exemption, allowing the hiring of Steve Harriman to support the Public Works Department during this critical time. Are there any questions?
All right, city clerk, is there any public comment?
Yes. We have two public comments, one from James Garcia and a second from Helen Whalen-Bashaw. You'll have up to 3 minutes.
Hi, James Garcia again, resident of Stone Creek. I'm actually opposed to this once again, because again, City Council already approved recently with Elizabeth Sparkman coming back. She was retired, came back, and now we have yet another person coming back. And especially knowing that this is going to be for solid waste system. We've already known about it for a long time. As we've already been informed, we've already had a increase contractually for improvement of fees, increase for all the residents, and now we have yet another person who is being tasked with being a vital person. Why do we not have a continuity business plan for all of these positions? Other businesses do that. If they know someone in top management is going to be retiring, they train their subordinate, their incoming person. We're not doing that. I really hope, since I know this is going to get passed, because everything seems to get passed, no matter what. So I hope that they are now tasked with training their replacement, finally, so they can retire. They don't need to be back here. We need to have a continuity plan in place. This is two high officials within the city that now are coming back. We should have known about that. So I hope you don't actually bring them back. We don't need them. We should be able to do it ourselves. Or I guess we do need them. So please don't.
Next speaker, Helen.
It's me again, Helen Whalen-Bashaw from the Tiffany area. I agree with a lot of the stuff James said. In any business, whether it be federal, state, local, or private businesses, they always have backups. What happens if somebody drops dead? Do we go contract it out? I mean, you have a backup and somebody else is a backup. So I don't know why this is the second person that's retired from a critical position where we all of a sudden waive the 180 days and bring them back to help it. If I remember, we've been talking about the contract coming up for bidding that was voted on prior to New Year's that brought Atlas in. Why wasn't, is it poor planning by the staff that they're not already looking forward and planning for the future and setting something in place before Atlas came in? Do they not look at the staffing to make sure there's plenty of backup? Are we in a Deming world? You look forward. You get the people at the lowest. For any of you who don't know, Deming is a process of quality management where you used to have a triangle like this, CEO at the top down makes a decision. In a Deming world, the triangle is like this. The people at the bottom layer or whatever layer where a decision needs to be made to stop something or modify it, they have the right to stop it. And the bidding out these contracts and then saying, oh, we need to bring somebody who retired back in, that's poor management as far as I'm concerned. I am tired of, this is the second one within a short period of time where we feel we need to hire somebody back for 180 days. To me, it's representing poor management of the city if you're not planning ahead. Enough said.
I'd like to ask City Manager if he has any comments to this.
So appreciate the comments. I think, from my perspective, we utilize the best available people to help us deliver the best quality services to our community, whatever route that may be. You actually saw tonight already one of our team members who's taken over the solid waste function. And really this is to help assist with that and use the quality folks in our community or have been part of our team to bring back that will have the history and the wisdom and the expertise to deliver the best quality services for our community. And feel very comfortable with the recommendation that's before you. And I think it's the most prudent and operational and effective way to do business as we see fit. So thank you for that.
Council, any comments or questions on this?
I would just say this sort of practice is pretty common. It actually saves money for the city.
Right.
It creates a more focused transition. And it's used in agencies all over the place. So we are lucky that we can retain the most skilled and most efficient employees for the benefit of our residents in these cases.
So I will move approval of the staff recommendation.
Second.
Second, sorry. That's going to be my first second.
We were waiting for you to do it. You looked like you were doing it. I was not going to steal it.
Couldn't find my button.
I heard Pulapati as the second.
No, it's Councilmember Little.
Okay, it is Little's second. Roll call. Councilmember Sander.
Aye.
Councilmember Little.
Aye.
Councilmember Budge.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Gatewood.
Yep.
Mayor Pulapati.
Yes. Moving on to item number 16.4, we'll ask the city clerk to announce the subject.
Discussion and potential action by the city council regarding the removal of a regular planning commission member.
We'll ask Darcy Goulart for a staff report.
Good evening, Mayor Pulapati, members of the council. Darcy Goulart with the Community Development Department. Tonight's item is a discussion and potential action by the city council regarding the removal of a regular planning commission member. This action is on the agenda based upon a request that was made at the December 16th regular city council meeting. Very briefly, per the municipal code, a planning commission member may be removed from office by the city council without cause, notice, or hearing. So upon conclusion of your discussion this evening, the council could take no action or by a majority vote could remove the regular planning commission member. If removed, this action is effective immediately and the seat would be vacated. And then as part of the recruitment process that's currently going on, that seat could potentially be filled. So with that concludes staff's presentation. And we would suggest that taking public comment prior to getting an in-depth conversation from the city council.
Wonderful suggestion. City clerk, do we have any public comment?
Yes, we'll start with James Garcia. Following James Garcia will be Leroy Trepet.
Hi, James Garcia again, Stone Creek. I was really hoping to find out ahead of time by having the presentation of some of the information on the planning commissioners. It's been a while since I've kind of followed all of their appointments. So are the council-appointed positions that are the regular commissions required to have that planning background, or is it only the two at large? Because I remember that was kind of a newer thing that was kind of implemented here recently. And so that's really the big thing, is because there's a lot of people out there that want to be able to take the job, and if they have to have that planning background, then it kind of eliminates several people from the running, especially on the regular seats. So would love to know who every council member's appointments were, and just to kind of get an idea on that, and who the at-large ones are, because it's been a little while. That would be a great thing to do on the city's website. Since we have a planning commissioner page, it would be great to have a note that says, oh, this person was appointed by council member X, this one was by Y. So that way the public does know a little more of who appointed who. So that's kind of my thing for right now. Just wanted to kind of know that, but too bad for me, I don't get to know that before speaking. Bye.
Next speaker is Leroy Trippett.
Good evening, Vice Mayor Gatewood and fellow council members. I'm here tonight to address the issue of my removal as planning commissioner. Vice Mayor Gatewood, several years ago you asked me if I'd be willing to run to serve my community on the planning commission, and I said yes. Since returning to Rancho Cordova, I was looking for an opportunity to support our city and put to use the skills I'd learned both professionally and through volunteering to positively impact our community. While on the planning commission, I've served as the first vice chair and the first full-term chairperson. I participated in every training opportunity afforded to me to enhance my skills and my understanding of the role. My meeting attendance record has been exemplary. I've helped lead the commission through its reformation, navigating several challenging situations that required diplomacy and difficult decision-making. I helped manage the commission through the warehouse conversations that were being had, recommending actions for the council to take. In all that time I served, there was never a question of my performance, my abilities, or my qualifications for the position. I represented our community fairly, taking stands on issues when necessary, devoid of personal agendas. I'm truly sorry that it appears that I no longer see eye to eye, you and I no longer see eye to eye regarding my appointment. I've joined the commission believing that as long as I served with integrity and followed the rules and regulations, I would have the opportunity to complete my term as your appointee. It's unclear to me what has happened in regard to my performance as a planning commissioner that warrants the action that the council is looking to take this evening. However, I acknowledge that I serve at the pleasure of my appointer, and therefore I hope you and the council will see the value I bring to the commission, the disruption that my removal could cause to the current cohesive fabric of the commission, and the increased cost that could result in having to train a new member. I remain hopeful that I'll be allowed to remain as Vice Mayor Gatewood's commissioner and continue the great work that I've been able to do and that the commission has begun. If that's not to be, however, know that I still plan to be very active in our community and will continue to find roles and opportunities to help better our community and our region. Thank you very much for your time.
I have another public comment from Helen Whalen-Bashaw.
I'm a little concerned because I thought there would be more of a presentation than what was made about voting on this. Just cause, is it just cause he ran against one of the council people that is now the mayor? Because I understand the last person that was elected to remove himself after the council was going to, after some heated conversations that took place at planning council meetings and stuff. It appears that when someone goes against the norm of certain people, they are getting removed. It doesn't seem right. From what was presented, it seems to be, he's more than qualified. He's participated openly. So I realized at the last meeting, Garrett, you mentioned that you wanted to remove a representative, and I don't see it. To me, it sounds like it's a clique here, or a boys' club. You go against one of the members by either running against them or openly trying to get the planning commission in a certain direction, you're ousted. He's got talent. It sounds like he's got talent. And then all of a sudden, he runs against somebody on the council, and now he's out. He wasn't elected to the position, so why are we removing him? To me, there doesn't seem to be just cause. Well, it's obvious maybe we don't need just cause to remove talent from the council, for the planning commission. Thank you.
That's all the public comment I have.
Okay, I'm going to ask council for comments, questions, direction.
Well, I'll take it since it's my planning commissioner. At this point, since he works at the behest of me and he was my appointee, I am ready for a change and looking to give the opportunity to someone new. That's it. And I would like to bring the measure and motion that we go ahead and replace my planning commissioner and put the seat up for decision as up so they can be picked out of these new people that are getting put in position for Donald's and some other people's position. Does that work, Adam?
It does. It sounds like the motion is to replace him and to have the new position, the replacement, considered as part of the new batch of commissioners who would be coming forward next month, I believe.
Correct.
Madam Mayor, I'll second the motion with the intent that we discuss this. So it doesn't mean we go immediately to a vote.
Oh, my bad. Okay. Yeah.
This is new ground for us. We've had a planning commission before that we had to dissolve in its entirety because of challenges and frankly, lack of work at the time. But there were significant challenges with that original planning commission. This is a decade ago. And we've had, I think, pretty good results from this planning commission. We had a little kerfuffle about a member a little while ago, but that was pretty amicably resolved, near as I could tell. But so this is new territory. I've been thinking about this, the yes, no. Do you allow this? And I can say in most jurisdictions in the region, this is exactly how it would work. If you had an appointment to a planning commission, then it's the single member who would suggest a change or suggest to keep, and pretty much everybody just says that's all of our individual right for those 5. So that right is something we haven't established here before. We kind of will with this precedent, but it's not an uncommon one. I think another reason you might want to make a change is if there's some sort of a conflict between the appointing member and the planning commissioner, because ideally there's a working relationship there at some level, and if you've got a break, it's hard for me to justify keeping that person in that position in a challenging situation like that. I don't know any of the details here. This is just general, broad speak. Third reason I came up with this, a little odder, but I could imagine an election change happening and losing a long-term planning commissioner, and one of us would say, that new person is going to make a change, but I don't want to lose that person on the planning commission, so I'm going to swap mine and appoint the one that's being lost. There'd be like a trade could happen. I can imagine that happen. That'd be another reason you'd want to say yes. On the no side, it takes a long time to train a planning commissioner. I would say years, maybe half a decade, so that you've seen enough, done enough, have enough experience to really know how to operate well in that space. There's just not enough, they're not doing enough in order to quickly, come up to speed. So, we need to be careful about losing expertise. So a radical change, of a lot of planning commission members at one point, like after an election, that'd be a problem, I would say. You wouldn't want significant turnover, and you gotta be careful about losing the expertise. And the last reason you'd say no is it could feel arbitrary, if we don't know why or how, or, it could feel ugly. And that's not something we ever want to be as a city. We always want to be, positive and supportive. So there's reasons on both sides. I'll tell you, I'm leaning towards the yes. Council member has the ability to do this because I think it's an important part of the way we're governing the city that we have these pairings. It doesn't mean that every time there's an election and, you return to office or you're new to office, you want to or will sweep out whoever the appointee is. But I don't think we should remove that right either. I think it's a good right for a council member to have for 5 of our 7 planning commissioners.
So I do agree with you on a lot of those points, given that I was one of those who pushed for a planning commission in the first place because I don't have a lot of expertise and I require somebody on the planning commission who is an extension of me, who I can speak to. So I know I can speak to my appointee, and I'm hoping my peer council members, my colleagues here, can go to their respective planning commissioners to speak. And if they don't have that kind of a relationship with their planning commissioner, that's cause for concern. That said, we are training our planning commissioners. I'm learning. We have Councilmember Little who's learning. So we're elected, but we do have a choice of who we work with. And that's really important because, we want to talk to them and we need them to reach out to us because we have to stand by their decisions. So I understand how you've come to your decision or your choice, and we've seen other cities do this, but I would also like to say that to somebody from the audience who did speak and say, there's one council member that was not supportive of a certain planning commissioner, but there was another council member that was supporting that said planning commissioner. So it's not like it's a clique. Council members make their own decisions, have their own choices, and I'd like to see what this motion applies, but, I respect Councilmember Gatewood's, Vice Mayor Gatewood's decision, given that I wasn't even referred to in the comments by the planning commissioner, so I don't even think I was spoken to. So, thanks.
So we have a motion by Vice Mayor Gatewood, and we have a second by Councilmember Sander. Is that correct? Okay, roll call. Councilmember Sander?
Aye.
Councilmember Little?
Yes, as long as these don't become regular occurrences, I think for all of our good. But yes, I respect the language about you do have to have a relationship, so it is what it is.
Councilmember Budge?
I understand all the ramifications. My vote is no.
Vice Mayor Gatewood?
Yes.
Mayor Pulapati?
Yes.
So the motion passes in support of the removal of the planning commissioner. 4-0. 4-1, sorry, with Linda being the no vote.
Okay, moving on to item number 17. Any future agenda items?
Do you want to bring up the thing about talking about how we run the meetings? What's February? It says February? Okay.
So council members, do you have an agenda topic? I have one.
Oh, go for it.
I'd like to request a topic for a city mascot.
Oh. Oh, this
Okay, this is
fire.
the Korean move.
Oh.
It takes 3 yeses to confirm that conversation. I'm
That
just
groaning.
want to be clear.
That's 100% yes for me. Are we
do
going to have
bu-
a city mascot?
Do we have
about it.
budget for this?
Can I have a dragon? I've always
See,
thought.
now here,
See, that would make city art so much easier. Everywhere we just go install our city mascot.
Ooh.
And we get pictures, and then we get bingo.
Then we
and
won't get a weird rabbit that just shows up somewhere.
There's a theme to it. Anyway, that's my.
Oh my God, a Rancho Cordova.
It's
The
just
Rancho rabbit.
agendizing it for discussion.
We're
not
agendize
a
it for
decision.
discussion, not deciding right now if
That's
there's
true.
going to be a mascot.
That's true.
or not,
Rancho
so.
grapes, like one of those grapes. I agree.
a rocket. It could be
Oh, a
little
rocket. Rancho rocket. It's
Where was I
phonetic.
inspired by that?
Oh, look
you
at
guys
that.
are going to give Adam a little bit nervousness.
Thank
No,
you,
I
Mr.
agree.
Little.
I agree. We should definitely talk about it. I'm one of the votes.
Okay.
Anyone? Do I got third? Who wants to discuss our
Only if we open a gift shop that sells everything in the world emblazoned.
oh my God, so true.
We saw that, I'm sorry, that's an inside joke. We saw that in Korea. We walked into a potential sister city for Rancho Cordova, and in their lobby, they had a gift shop with like anime, I guess you'd say their anime sort of icon or mascot for their city. And it included a photo booth where you could be like seen, I guess, was the mascot in those photos? Mike?
Yes.
I don't,
Correct.
with the mascot like appearing in there.
And stuffed
on the
toys.
spot, we decided we got to do that photo booth thing. That's just, yeah. We were there, talking with business partners, future economic development here in Rancho Cordova, but this potential sister city of ours there had that as a thing. And I don't know, do any U.S. cities have a mascot like that? I mean, for like a marketing campaign or a travel campaign or something,
I think it would be a great idea. Yeah, some of them do. Totally. I
I
can't
remember
name any.
Seattle has like a something that
Oregon
they have
has a
at
duck.
different-
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I just know
I'll
in
be the
Japan, it's like every city has one.
Yeah. I'll be the third.
Once we get it, every other city around us is going to want it. Just so you know.
Sounds like we got a future agenda to talk about this item. So,
marshmallow.
We'll bring that forward for discussion.
Okay. With that, I adjourn the meeting in memory of our 39th president who lived to be 100, Jimmy Carter.